The Nintendo Switch eShop is full of free-to-play games. You got games like Fortnite, Smite. Warframe is a great game that I've always liked on PS4 and PC, but never quite got into. Then it released on the Switch last year, and I've put more time into it now than ever. And did you guys know Overwatch is actually free on the Switch? Yeah, except it goes by the name Paladins and the characters all look different, but gameplay-wise, it's the Overwatch we all know and love. Alright guys, that last part was a joke. Obviously, I know Paladins is not Overwatch. Trust me, that much is very clear. There are mobile ports like Fallout 76 and Pokemon Quest, but what if we forget about all of the big, popular, already well-established free-to-play games and dig deeper into the scary part of the eShop? Well, today we're gonna find out because I'm gonna be playing the worst free Nintendo Switch games that the eShop has to offer, starting with Dawn of the Breakers. Dawn of the Breakers is actually the first game in this video that I ever recorded footage for because I wanted to do a standalone video about it when it launched a long time ago. Then I realized it's just really boring. I mean, okay, there is something here. The game takes the bare bones framework of the school and social scenes in Persona and mixes them with a Power Rangers type transformation thing, and throws it into a weird, chibi anime beat-em-up gacha game with single-player board game mechanics for moving between levels. It really doesn't know what it wants to be, and yet, despite all the variety I just described, it's super repetitive. You play the game to unlock characters that you use in the game to unlock more characters. It's cute, I'll give it that. The graphics for some reason make me think of the Dreamcast, specifically. Like, not quite PS1, not quite PS2, but that sweet spot right in the middle that the Dreamcast was. And that is something I actually find quite charming. Beyond the character designs though, the enemies, at least what I encountered so far in the game, were pretty gross and out of place in comparison. Ugh. Of all the games I'm talking about today, this is the one that at least has the most potential, or at least so I thought when I first played it, but it's just so boring, and then when I came back to play more, it didn't want to launch, so I'd say this one's pretty bad. But honestly, if you want to play a Persona-inspired Japanese action RPG where you hang out with your friends at school and then beat up monsters after class, just spend a few bucks and buy Tokyo Xanadu. Wait, that's not on the Switch. Okay, so this next one is admittedly a little bit of a stretch, but it is on the eShop, it's free, it's interactive, and it's bad, so it's not like it's going to escape the clutches of this video. It's Coloring Book. Okay, so I admit, this one's a little unfair. I would hardly call this a game so much as an app, but to be honest, the Switch doesn't have a whole lot of interesting bad free games, so I'm making do. Obviously, this is for kids and would not be made to appeal to someone my age. I get that, and I look at this strictly on those merits. You use one Joy-Con to play and use the face buttons to change colors or tools, and you use L or R respectively depending on what Joy-Con you're using, and move the thumbstick to color. Or you can swing the Joy-Con around while holding the button to use motion controls. But the motion controls are just awful, and they work very inconsistently. You either move a little bit, or you move too much and color something you didn't mean to. They're probably like, the kids won't know the difference and the parents will never find out. Let them spend money on more coloring pages in our broken kids game. If I, a grown man baby, have a hard time of playing this correctly, I can imagine it would be much harder for kids. Guys, I'm actually trying here, like, I'm really trying to do this, and it doesn't work. How is any kid supposed to do this? Oh, there's stars, okay. Well, isn't that just magical? There, look, I drew a picture of me. That's me right there. Autograph. Portly. I drew it just for you guys. Now, the Switch eShop, unfortunately, is no stranger to mobile ports. I, for one, am not a huge fan of mobile games, aside from maybe the occasional stupid puzzle game that I'll play for a couple days before deleting it. But it didn't take me that long to uninstall the next game, Get Amped Mobile. Get Amped Mobile is a game I knew nothing about before downloading it, and I kinda wish it stayed that way. It is apparently, believe it or not, a Power Stone clone, and I use that term as loosely as possible. You get to choose from one of 5 starting classes. As much as I'd like to choose the one that looks like Vegeta, I'll go with the fighter because her stats are more balanced, and she just looks cute. And then you get to choose your appearance, which, I mean, Kind of slim pickings here. And which one is supposed to be the one that looks like that? Next, you get to put in your name. Considering I will only play this once and do not care at all, I'll just use the first randomly generated name. Ben1134. Great, that's me. The name is taken, so I guess it's not that random, is it? Fine, Zach12. Also taken. Great. Zach123. Come on! Fine. Portly123. Okay, we're in. Let's go. Finding a match can take a while. Luckily, none of these 9-year-old kids' moms have bought them Smash yet, so I was at least able to find some opponents. The match starts, and one player is down. And another one. Great, I'm already winning. They must have fallen off the stage, because it's not like it's one-hit kills or anything. The game has potential to be okay, like, it's very, very basic, but there are at least inputs for small repetitive combos, supers, and so on. But the Get Amped metagame is apparently run around in circles and spam the same attack. Well, isn't that fun? So I won round 1, but I lost round 2. Round 3, redemption time. Oh, bye. Well, at least I get to sit here and spectate the rest of the match, except the camera got stuck while the last 2 fighters went up to the top platform. Until the camera moved again and suddenly Gorilla? What the heck is this game? Levels have pickups and items you can use like throwable crates, potions, or whatever those are, and then just guns. Just straight up guns. Like Dawn of the Breakers, this game also has a gacha system. You can use tickets you've earned to be randomly awarded with prizes like skins, items, weapons, and even classes. Some of the designs are kinda cool, like this Monster Hunter looking one, but most of them are just ugly. And on top of that, some of what I thought were just cosmetic items also have increases to your stats. So this is just pay to win. I really do enjoy the charm of the graphical style in this game as well. This one does look more specifically like PS1 or N64 era Japanese games that I loved as a kid. Some of the character models make me think of games like Mega Man Legends or Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Am I alone in this? Now it kinda makes me wish that some of the talented indie studios out there would make something that looks kinda like this, but is, well, good. But alas, in the meantime, I'll have to settle for the dime a dozen pixel art games that make up a majority of the indie game scene, because there is no way I'm going to keep playing this garbage. Onigiri is a free-to-play action MMO that I've seen on PS4 and PC for a few years now, but I've never played it. And now, as of recently, it's available on the Switch. So what's it like? Oh. The game puts you through this very short tutorial where a potato teaches you the horrible controls, and then you fight a boss that I'm pretty sure was a monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! Except in this, he looks like raisins? Why does he look like raisins? After the tutorial, you're released into the game's central hub where you can see other players, of which there are more than I expected, which was like, I don't know, 5? Oh, the frame rate, it's bad. It's so bad. I think the dev accidentally released like an early test version because there's no way somebody could have looked at this and said, yeah, this looks finished. The frame rate is bad, the pop-in is horrendous, I mean, look at that. The menu navigation is really awkward because it defaults to you moving the cursor around like a mouse, but with your thumbstick. Like, you can just use the D-pad to navigate around, but it doesn't always work. Controlling your character is just uncomfortable. It's not a word I've used to describe controls before, but I think this works. Instead of having like hotkeys for your attacks, you have to use the ZL and ZR button to select the skill you want, and then press L to execute. It's extremely slow and cumbersome, but I guess it doesn't really matter because the combat really isn't all that difficult. It's all a mess. There's also a cursor in the middle of the screen at all times, like you're supposed to aim and shoot something, but there's no long-ranged attacks really. At least starting out, I'm not gonna play this game long enough to find out. And then the absolute worst offender as far as the controls goes is that you keep moving when you let go of the control stick. And it's everywhere you go. It's like the entire world is covered in ice. The graphics look like PS2 graphics, but with just way worse textures. I mean, come on. If you look at games like Rogue Galaxy, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, Final Fantasy 10 and 12, and even back then, they all looked much better than this. Some of the weapon designs are at least kinda decent. I looked at a couple and was like, hey, that's kinda cool. But what good is that when the combat is bad? I mean, I know MMO combat isn't exactly like crazy awesome most of the time, but this one tries to be an action MMO and just fails at it. There are games that do it way better and are also free to play. The worlds are also extremely empty, but that's kinda good because imagine how hard it would be for the game to run that if it can't even run this. I tried the game on PC just to see how it compares. The graphics and pop-in are just as bad, but the frame rate only dips a little bit in the hub area, unlike the Switch version, which is basically a slideshow. I know the Switch is less powerful than a decent gaming PC or even a PS4, but the Switch also runs games like Breath of the Wild and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Maybe not always perfectly, but not like that. Now sure, this is more of an MMO with a bunch of other players to load, but the Switch also has Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and Warframe, and they both run great. More or less. To be completely fair, the game does run much better when you're not in the hub, like in dungeons, or at least the one I had the patience to try. And hey, maybe this game, like any, would be a lot more fun to play with friends. But there are so many way better free-to-play MMOs around. And if you're limited to the Switch, just get your friends to play Warframe. If anything, it's actually really fun. Otherwise, if you make your friends play this, they probably won't be your friends for much longer. And that is a handful of the bad free-to-play games I could find on the Nintendo Switch eShop. The Switch does have a good handful of bad games, but fortunately it doesn't have a lot of bad free-to-play games, so if you're going to download something for free on the eShop, as long as you avoid these, you're probably going to at least have a decent time. But I will be keeping an eye out for more because I would love to revisit this topic someday, so if you know of any bad free-to-play Switch games that I can maybe look into for a future video, let me know in the comments. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just delete these off of my Switch because SD cards are expensive.